Hey everyone, Haley here from The Foiled Plan. Today I am starting a new video series on my channel where I'm going to be showing you how to use Procreate. If you are familiar with Procreate, this is probably going to be old news for you because I'm starting out with a basic walkthrough of what each of the menu items is for. If you aren't familiar or you just recently got it and you're a little bit nervous or intimidated by the program, then this will be really helpful for you, I hope anyways. As we progress in future weeks, I will be getting a little bit deeper into how to use the program and lots of different awesome tools that you can use. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on these future videos if you enjoy this kind of content. I mean, if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. You clicked on the video. Anyways, thank you guys so much in advance for your support. I'm sorry that my camera is so shaky. It's because I'm holding it and I don't have very much arm strength. I'm a weakling. Anyways, okay, I'm gonna stop rambling. I am going to stop rambling and we're going to get into the video. So let's go. So first off, if you don't have Procreate on your iPad, it is the app that I recommend you use above all other apps. And there is a charge to it. I think it's about $10. Now, I will mention too that this is only an app that's available on iOS. So if you have an Android, this program will not work for you. Also, this is the first time that I've tried this sort of setup, so bear with me. I'm not sure how it's going to look as far as lighting and everything goes, but we'll figure it out and hopefully things will improve along the way. Anyways, okay, so if we go search, we're in the App Store and we type in Procreate. It's all one word and then hit search. There's gonna be lots of different options that come up. And one of the first ones is going to be this one right here. So you see it's black with like a swoosh through it. Now, I mean, I'm making this video for you guys in March of 2020. So as the program progresses through time, I'm not sure when you guys are going to be watching this video, but they may have had an update that this icon changes slightly, but just make sure you're clicking the one that's called Procreate. And the one that's going to be directly beside it or near it, it looks very similar to this one, but it's got a white background with that swoosh of color going through it. So I already have this one, but that's what I use on my phone. You can use it on this, but you're not getting the full experience. So if you have an iPad, you want to get this one. And like I said, it's about $10 and you would just click to install it and it would take a little bit to install. Now I already have it, so I am just going to open it. When we first open Procreate, you guys are not going to see all of these options. These are things that I have designed already. You will just see a couple like sample canvases. So I use the Apple Pencil when I'm designing anything in Procreate, but for today, since this is just an absolute introductory look at Procreate, I'm gonna set this aside and we're just gonna use our hands because you may not have purchased the Apple Pencil just yet. So I'm gonna set that off to the side and then we're going to continue on. So to get started, what you're going to want to do is open a new canvas, open a blank canvas. So to do that, we're going to click this add button, and that's gonna open up a bunch of different options here down the side. So these are all different sizes. Now you won't necessarily see all of these because I've created some of these custom sizes myself. So when I need a thumbnail for YouTube, I have that size preset so I can just go ahead and create something. Same thing when I'm doing a large poster I have that and it's all set to go. So for the purpose of this, or when I am just designing and then I plan to take that design as a PNG image over to either convert it to an SVG or open it in Cricut Design Space, then I'm just going to click on screen size. The canvas size is going to be the size of your screen. And if you're not sure some of the terminology that I'm using, don't worry. This, like I said, is just gonna be a very basic introduction to using Procreate. So we're gonna click on screen size. It's gonna take a second, then it's popping open a blank canvas. So you'll know that it is a blank canvas because it's completely white. And let's just take a little tour around what we see here. So if we want to get back to where we just were, there's this button in the top left that says gallery. So if we click on that, now we're back to where we just were. So this is the canvas that we just created. It says untitled, but you can rename it if you want to. We're not gonna worry about that for right now, just keeping it basic and simple. So let's click back on that. We're gonna go back into it. Now, let's kind of start on this side of the iPad and then we're gonna work our way over. And I'm not gonna show you everything because you don't need everything to get started. Again, super basic look at things. All right, so right next to gallery is the little wrench tool. That is your actions menu. So inside your actions menu, if you click on that, there's all these different options that pop up, and then there's also options within those options. So we won't get too detailed today, but if you want to insert text or add a photo to your design, if you want to share your design as a specific image type, there's so many options in the actions tab, so that's where you will find that stuff. And if we move on, we're going to click on the adjustments tab. It looks like the auto adjust tool in some of the photo editing apps. So you click on that, adjustments pop up. There's not quite as many options as there is in actions, but we just have these options here, and that's gonna help us, but not for a little while. We won't really need to look at this stuff just yet. We're going to move on to our selection tools. So these options here, this and this, those are both selection tools. So with this selection tool, you have some different options down here. So you have automatic, freehand, this draws rectangles, and then you've got your circles and your ovals. So those are more options for selection. And then this selection tool, which has the cursor, that selects everything in your layer. Now, if you're not sure what I'm talking about when I say layers, we're gonna get to that in a second. All right, so we have these two slider bars here on the left-hand side of the screen. So the top one controls the size of your brush. So let's see, if we have it about a third of the way up, and then I draw, this is what we get. And then if I move it up a little bit and I draw again, you can see the brush stroke is clearly thicker. Now I'm going to leave the brush stroke the same so that we can see what the difference is. This bar down here is for your opacity. So if you have it all the way up to the top, your opacity is set to 100%. And that's going to give you this full color, full potency of your brush stroke. If I bring that opacity down, and I'm going to use my finger again, you can see quite a difference between this harsh black line and this lower opacity line. So that's what that tool does. And then these arrows here, this top one you can see, this bottom one you can't. So these are your undo and redo buttons. So you can click undo and it's going to get rid of that. Now let's say you clicked undo and you didn't mean to. You want that line back. Now I can see the redo button is clickable. So we're going to touch it and boom, it's back. Now let's move on. So we're back at the start. So now we're moving over to the right side of the screen. So this first button here, that is your brush tool. So you're gonna start out with lots of preset brushes on here that you can customize further, but for now we're just gonna leave it. We're not gonna get too deep into this. So let's just choose, I'm gonna go calligraphy. Let's leave it at the script. Now you're not gonna see the full effect of this because I'm not using a pressure sensitive Apple pencil. I'm just going to be using my finger. So it's not going to detect if you are pushing harder or softer. So like I said, you won't get the full effect, but just so we can see, all of these options will be available to you when you download it. And then all these ones down here are like third-party brushes that I've imported. And I'll show you how to do that, but just not in this video. It's a little bit too advanced for just starting out. So we're in calligraphy, we've selected the brush script, and all I have to do is tap once on the screen and that goes away, or I can click the brush again and it goes away. Either way, you have those options. So I'm going to make my line fairly big. My opacity is set to 100%. And again, I'm just going to draw some squiggles. You can see the difference. So this starts out, it's pretty thick, and then it ends with a taper. So I know that I'm using the script brush because that is typical of a script brush. We have different options. Let's try blotchy. You can see quite a bit different. We'll just play around here for a second. There's airbrush, soft brush. Let's make this big. Okay, so we have some options here. All right, so now that we have something on our screen, what we're going to do is check out this next menu item, which is the smudge tool, similar to the smudge tool on Photoshop or other photo editing apps. So if we click on that, it doesn't look like anything has happened, and that's because you have to physically start smudging things. And this, again, the same thing, you're going to have to adjust your brush size. Even though it's a smudge, it's still considered a brush. So we can adjust the size. So I'm gonna make it really, really large. And then you can see I'm smudging right through things, and it's blending all three of these different lines together, and it's gonna blend in the way that you're moving with your finger. So you can see if I start here, it's going to go light into dark. If I go this way through to the lighter shades, it's gonna blend black into the lighter grays. So you can do lots of smudging around with that just to get a handle on things. Again, you can adjust the opacity for that. So if I bring my opacity down, you can't see it nearly as much. It's probably like not even noticeable on your screen. Let's bring it up to like 50%. So there. This is really good if you're wanting to blend things into each other when you're creating designs, making some beautiful digital art. So that's what the smudge tool does. Okay, so from there, let's say you want to erase something. So the eraser tool is very similar to the brush tool over here, in the sense that we have options for brushes. So you're not necessarily going to want the same type of eraser with every project that you're doing. You might want something that's kind of feathered along the edges, or maybe you want something that's a very harsh line. So just to show you what I mean, I have my brushes that are all exactly the same brushes that are in here. So if I'm working with an option that is very soft and feathered and I want to erase that, I'm probably going to pick something that's also soft and feathered. So I'm going to pick this soft brush. I already have it selected, and then I want to adjust the size. I'm going to bring my opacity all the way up so that you can really see it, and then let's see what happens. So do you see along these edges here how it's not a very harsh line? So if I were to change that, let's go with a hard brush. Let's see what the difference is. So you see quite a significant difference. I mean, I know the sizes are different, but the lines themselves and the edges completely different. So you've got lots of options to play around with, and it's not even just like solid straight lines like that. We can go back into like painting. There's one for a water brush. So if I go, like this. It's kind of like a watercolor stroke. So that is the eraser tool. Now, the next menu item on the right-hand side of the page is our layers menu. So if we click on this, it's very much like Photoshop in the sense that everything is done in layers. Layers are going to be your absolute best friend. So this background color, if you don't want it to be white, you can change it to literally any color you want. So if you click on that, then there's lots of different options. You can move the slider bars over. If you have a favorite color selected or saved, you can use that. You can also view the colors differently. So there's a disc where you can find colors that way. The classic view, which is where I normally have my colors set. There's values, or you can save different palettes if you want. But I, like I said, mostly just have it on the classic view. Let's change our color to purple because, I mean, let's be honest. Anyways, so we've got it set on purple. If I like that shade, but I think it just needs to be a little bit lighter, I can adjust the lightness or darkness on these sliders, or even on here. And that'll adjust the background color. So I'm gonna click done. I've got it back on white, just because I feel like that's gonna be easiest for you guys to see. Now, if we want to add a layer, so let's say we're happy with this layer here, we don't wanna do anything else to it, but we want to add something and we don't want it to affect this layer. What we're going to do is press this add right here, and we can see there's layer 2. If you want to rename the layer, you click, and then these options are going to come up at the side, and the top one is rename. So let's call this practice 1. Now let's call this one practice 2. And when you're working with layers, you want to make sure that the layer you want to be working with is lit up blue like this. So if I'm hoping that when I start drawing, the lower layers are not going to be affected, but I haven't selected the top layer, watch what happens. I see that was all completed on the same layer. So what I'm gonna do is press the undo button. And now I'm going to click on that practice 2 layer. I'm gonna do the same thing. And now, if I want to make any changes to that or the one underneath it, they're not going to affect the other layers. So let's say I really like this top layer that I just did, but I'm not sure if I want that layer to just be seen or if I like the layer underneath of it to be seen as well. So what I can do is these check marks at the side are kind of like the show and hide buttons. So just to show you, if I click on this, that check mark is gone. I can't see that layer anymore, but it's still here. I'm gonna click. Now I can see it again. Let's see what that layer looks like without the other one underneath showing. And let's bring it back. So that's kind of how the layers work. And no pun intended, there's lots of layers to learning how to use layers. There's so many things that you have the capability of doing when you're working with layers. But again, we're just doing a basic rundown of things. All right, so before we go any further, we have one last menu option to check out, and that is this circle over here. And that is our color. That's going to be whatever color your brush is at the time. So it's been black this whole time, and that's why my entire design has been black. But let's say we want to add in some color, and it already has classic up on the screen because this is the last view that I was using. But again, you can shuffle through, use any of the options here to find a color that you like. But I'm going back to classic, and let's add in some pink. So I've got this selected. If I want to adjust it all, it's changing the color. I pick something nice and bright. And then once you're done, you can either tap once on the color circle up here or just tap on your screen. And let's start a new layer. Just so if I want to manipulate anything, I can do it just to this specific color. All right, so that is a very basic rundown of what each of these different menu options and items on the screen does. What I'm going to do is over the next while, I'm going to be filming and uploading videos that are all about this program, and we're going to kind of dive deeper into each one of these different things so that you guys can really learn how to use this program. We are honestly not even scratching the surface today, but don't be intimidated. We're going to work through this together, and we're gonna learn things and take things one step at a time. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I hope you will hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And if you have any questions, or if you have this program and you're not sure of how to do a specific thing and you'd like a tutorial on it, pop it in the comments below. I hope you guys found this tutorial helpful. I am really looking forward to this entire series, kind of walking you through how to use this program so you guys can become confident with it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate the support, and I will see you guys in the next video. All right, that's all I'm gonna say. Bye!